Such a young up-and-comer. Everyone's curious about you and your life, who you're dating, what you're all about.
Oh, yeah.
So what's going on there? What's going on in that department?
I'm being humble with it. I'm being private. I'm putting the career and that in separate worlds. It's hard to navigate it today.
How do you do that? Because honestly, I mean, look, this is how it goes. You know, you go on a show, you talk about your project, but everyone's like...
Right after that, I went through my very first public breakup. Now, most people after a breakup are like, I'm gonna get in better shape. But I was already in Creed shape. So I had to be like, all right, I guess I'll learn a new language. Anyway, estoy en raya. After the breakup, everyone thought I was so heartbroken because when the news came out, I was at a basketball game and they caught me looking like this.
Damson Idris is finally breaking his silence, and the timing could not be messier. Lori just got exposed for allegedly trying to sneak her way back into Michael B. Jordan's life right after his huge Oscar win. And the reaction? Yeah, it was not pretty. Word is, Michael didn't just ignore her attempts to reach out. He completely shut it down. And now Damson looks like he's had enough of the drama too. It was already awkward that Michael reportedly ignored her calls when she tried to congratulate him. But now things feel even worse because her own relationship might be falling apart behind the scenes. Like, seriously, what was the plan here? Why are you calling your ex like that? Especially when you're supposed to be locked in with someone else? And people are definitely raising eyebrows because if everything was solid with Damson, this situation wouldn't even exist. And let's be real. Her relationship with Damson has already been getting side-eyes lately, so this move just added more pressure to an already shaky situation. Some folks are even saying this might be the final straw for him, because nobody wants to feel like a backup option in their own relationship. Now here's where it gets even louder. Michael B. Jordan just made history, winning his first Oscar for Best Actor and becoming one of only a few black men to ever do it, so of course the congratulations were pouring in. But out of everybody, Lori Harvey reaching out, that caught people completely off guard, especially after how things ended between them. After their breakup, Lori and her mom, Marjorie, didn't exactly stay quiet. They were throwing shade and making slick comments that had people talking for months. At one point, she even seemed upset when her dad, Steve Harvey, was seen joking around with Michael at a basketball game, which only made things look more tense. So when reports dropped that Lori was trying to reconnect, people were shocked. Allegedly, she didn't just try. Once, she kept reaching out multiple times right after his Oscar win, but Michael wasn't having it at all. Supposedly, he ignored every call and even made it clear through his team that he didn't want any contact. Once that hit social media, the reactions came in fast and loud. People started dragging the situation, bringing up old rumors and flipping the narrative, saying things like, he cheated and he lost a good woman, while also pointing out how she was now the one trying to reach him. And to make it even messier, there were whispers that other big names had also been trying to get his attention, adding even more noise to the situation. Some are saying Lori thought this Oscar moment would be the perfect chance to reconnect and maybe revisit their past, but Michael made his stance crystal clear by keeping his distance. And right when the backlash started building, someone close to Lori allegedly made things worse by leaking details to blogs, claiming she had been trying to contact him for a while, not just after the award. Apparently, this wasn't new behavior, and he had already been ignoring her long before the Oscar buzz even started. Reports say he hasn't answered a single call, and he's completely uninterested in reopening that chapter. What makes this even more intense is how things were handled after their breakup. Lori and Marjorie were reportedly pushing narratives about Michael, including claims about his dating preferences, and since he stayed quiet, those stories stuck around longer than expected. And Marjorie didn't hold back either. She added her own layer of shade by posting a clip of Jennifer Lewis saying, "If you sit in it for too long, it stopped smelling," which many people saw as a clear jab at the situation. And just when it seemed like the shade might cool off, it actually got worse. Lori didn't just stay quiet. she followed right behind her mom and added her own layer of pettiness. She hopped on IG stories and posted a photo of a license plate that read, "Dump him," and people immediately connected the dots and assumed it was aimed straight at Michael. That alone had everyone talking, but she didn't stop there. She later did an interview where she kept going on about how Michael supposedly didn't meet her standards for the kind of man she wants long-term. And that's where people really started side-eyeing the situation, because when they were together, she was singing a completely different tune. The switch-up felt loud, and folks definitely noticed the inconsistency. Now, here's the part that really has people confused. Lori had all these critiques about Michael, yet she had no problem dating multiple high-profile men in the industry without hesitation. Meanwhile, many are saying Michael was actually one of her most solid relationships, and now it looks like she fumbled it only to circle back once he leveled up in a major way. And let's not forget what reportedly caused the breakup in the first place. The word was that Michael was ready to settle down and take things to the next level, but Lori wasn't there yet. She allegedly wanted to keep living freely and focus on herself instead of locking into something serious. That decision is now being revisited by a lot of people, especially with everything happening now. What makes this even more interesting is how Steve Harvey handled everything. Through all the noise and shade being thrown, Steve never publicly disrespected Michael or cut ties with him. In fact, when they ran into each other at a basketball game, it was all smiles and good energy. But behind the scenes, different story. Steve later admitted that Lori wasn't feeling that interaction at all and even told him to stop communicating with Michael. That added a whole new layer to the situation because it showed just how deep the tension really was. Now shifting over to Damson, because this is where things really start heating up. He stayed quiet for a while and didn't involve himself in the chaos. But now reports are saying he's speaking out, and it's not in Lori's favor. Allegedly, he's not shocked by any of this behavior and had already formed his own opinions before getting involved with her. According to people close to him, he supposedly always saw the relationship as something light and fun rather than long-term. And while that might sound wild, the timeline has people raising eyebrows. Lori and Michael split around June 2022, and by November, she was already being linked to Damson after meeting him at Odell Beckham Jr.'s party. That turnaround was quick, and people definitely noticed. It gets even messier. They reportedly had a brief breakup in 2023, and now rumors are swirling that Michael might have played a role in that split. Word is, Lori may have still been trying to reach out, and if that's true, it could explain why neither of them really spoke much about what caused that breakup. Even though they're currently back together, insiders claim Damson hasn't forgotten any of this. There's talk that he never fully saw a future with Lori and already knew the relationship might not last. People are even pointing out that he didn't bring her as his +1 to the Oscars, which only added more speculation. And now, with all this talk about her allegedly reaching out to Michael behind the scenes, it's making everything look even more complicated. Of course, all of this is being reported and discussed online, so it remains unconfirmed. But still, the situation has people talking non-stop. Social media wasted no time jumping in either. One person said, "Don't be shocked to see Lori Harvey's narrow tail in Michael's comments. She about to dump Damson like a bad habit. She'll swing whichever way the wind blows." And another added, "Lori Harvey about to leave Damson Idris," which just shows how messy the public perception has gotten. And the comments just kept rolling in, getting louder and messier by the minute. Another person jumped in saying, "Lori Harvey about to leave Damson Idris," like it's already a done deal, and that energy has been spreading fast across social media. People are really watching her next move closely, because at this point, everything she does is getting picked apart and turned into a headline. The pressure is definitely on, and folks are not holding back at all. And it doesn't stop there, because more voices are jumping in with even stronger opinions. Somebody else said, "She only spins the block when it benefits her." And that comment alone sparked a whole debate online. Others are questioning her timing, saying it's way too convenient that she's trying to reach out right when Michael is at his highest moment. Meanwhile, a few people are defending her, saying everyone deserves a second chance, but that take is definitely getting drowned out by all the criticism. Then you've got another group online saying, "This is exactly why you don't double back," and they are not letting up at all. Some people think this whole situation is less about feelings and more about timing, especially with Michael winning big and leveling up in public. Others are pointing out how quiet he's been through all of this, which is making his response, or lack of one, look even louder. And that silence? It's speaking volumes, and it's only making Lori's moves look more questionable by the second. And honestly, at this point, everything is playing out in real time, and people are watching every move like it's a live show. One side is saying Lori is just making messy decisions, while the other side thinks she's trying to rewrite the past now that Michael is on top. Either way, the timing, the rumors, and the reactions are all colliding, and it's not looking simple at all. Meanwhile, Michael is staying silent, focused, and unbothered, which is only making the situation hit even harder. No responses, no clapbacks, no drama, just distance. And sometimes that kind of silence says more than anything else ever could. Now, with Damson possibly side-eyeing everything, Lori caught in the middle of all this talk, and social media going off non-stop, this whole situation is far from over. Because if there's one thing people know for sure, it's that stories like this always have another twist waiting around the corner. So, what do you think about all this? Was Lori really trying to spin the block, or is this all getting blown out of proportion? Let me know in the comments.